South Korea is a nation in mourning after one of the country's worst aviation disasters. 179 people died when the Jeju air jet skidded off a runway at Muan International Airport. 2 people were pulled alive from the rubble. And joining me live for more on this is Sky News aviation expert Byron Bailey. Byron, thanks so much for joining us. It is good to see you again. First of all, how does this compare to other international commercial air disasters in the past?
Well, this particular disaster is actually because of stupidity. Why did they build a barrier at the end of the runway? I mean, you know, there's times where aircraft have to abort and take off and may go off the end of the runway. This particular airfield, a long runway, 2.8 kilometres long, and it was made in 2007. It's a wide runway. It's a very good runway. But for the life of me, I can't understand why you had this embankment with a solid concrete structure. Normally, the instrument landing system antenna is at the end of the runway that guides the pilots in on an instrument landing approach. But for goodness me, that's supposed to be collapsible so the pilot, an aeroplane can pass over it. I've flown into hundreds of major airports worldwide, and I've never come across a situation like this where they've constructed an obstacle that will destroy an airplane at the end of the runway. You've got to have an overrun.
Do you think it was a security measure to have that in, to stop people getting into the airport, or was it to stop objects such as planes from getting out or protecting it from going into water? Or why do you think they erected that concrete barrier?
Well, that's a very good question, and the experts are going to have to explain why. But you'd rather have an aeroplane slide off the end of the runway into water, complete with all the passengers okay, than slam into a solid object that just disintegrated the aeroplane totally. But it's very perplexing, this whole scenario. They were on final approach after a long flight from Bangkok. In a situation where they had a gear problem. It appears that they actually had a bird strike earlier on, took out one of the engines. So they're on a one-engine approach, it appears. But also it appears they may have had a hydraulic problem, because on final approach at 500 feet with the gear and flap down, they started a go-round. Now, normally, if you don't get your gear down fully, you go around, enter a hold pattern, and run the checklist to do the emergency gear lowering. It's very easy to do. I mean, the Boeing 737's got 2 main hydraulic systems and a backup one. But all the first officer has to do is, for emergency gear lowering, is slide his seat back and open a little panel, and there's 3 little levers, one for each, the left main gear, the nose, and the right. But they appeared to be very short on time, and I don't know why they didn't enter a holding pattern and run things as pilots are trained to do. It's what you practice in the simulator, that you don't make the final approach until everything is sorted. You know exactly what's happened. The ground crew, the fireys, everybody's waiting on the ground. You come in, you know your speed. This one appeared to be a course reversal after the go-round and coming in from the other end at high speed. Now, 2.8 kilometres is a very long runway. I mean, a normal sort of runway for a Boeing 737 would be 1.5 kilometres. But he came in very fast. With no flap, you have much less drag, so you're going to float a very long way. And the difference in landing speed between fully configured, say around 140 knots, which to a no-flap landing, when you do it exactly right, it would, say, be around 175, 180 knots. He might have even been a bit faster. But why? And that's probably explains why. Heavy aeroplane, because it had a full load of passengers and cargo, touched down way down, a couple of kilometres down a 2.8 runway. Means that the pilot basically misjudged it because he hurried. And now, why did he hurry and make that turn reversal? Was he losing engine power? It's obvious he had no hydraulics. But the thing is, the aeroplane touched down totally intact. It was sliding along the runway
Right.
with no flap. And if he had touched down a lot earlier, okay. But even so, if that stupid barrier hadn't been at the end of the runway, he could have slid off the end and destroyed the airplane, sure.
Yep.
But most, well, I'm sure, would have got out alive. Very, very sad.
Well, unfortunately, Byron, we're out of time, but there are many questions yet to be answered on this. Byron Bailey, appreciate it. Thank you.